Dear listeners, when you think of law schools, which, we all think of those every day, right? But, from time to time, you might come across some article about a law school or somebody you know is going to go to law school, or you have a need to get a lawyer, so suddenly law school is important to you. Georgetown Law is probably one of the names that will come up because it's famous. There's been a lot of people who have gone there who have been in Congress, who have been governors, things like that. Various people who have represented other famous people have gone to Georgetown Law. So you think about that and you go, okay, that might be a fairly prestigious institution, right? Well, that may be true until you see how they're acting. So we're going to talk about how they're acting, specifically in reference to Ilya Shapiro, who you may or may not know. Ilya is the vice president of constitutional studies at the Cato Institute, and they actually hired him to start the beginning of this month to be the constitutional studies leader at Georgetown Law. But he hasn't started that job yet because he's on administrative leave, and there's a reason for that. So joining me today is Bethy. Hi, Bethy.
Hi.
Nice to have you back. It's been a day or two.
Yeah, it's been a little bit.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get into this story, okay? And we're going to see how Beth reacts because Beth has not seen any of this. She knows nothing of it. Do you even know who Ilya Shapiro is until I just mentioned it?
No, I actually was questioning if you were going to say they were related to Ben, but no
relation
idea.
to Ben. But you know Georgetown Law.
Yes.
Would you agree with my assessment that that's probably a fairly well-known law school?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I think most people would at least have common knowledge of its existence.
Yep. So this story, at least as of the time of recording, dear listener, is an in-process story, okay? As of right now, Ilya Shapiro is still on administrative leave. He has not actually started his new job, but that could change at any point. I don't know. But I'm bringing this up now because this story's been hanging out there for a good week, and I don't feel like it's had any really good play in mainstream media, just small blurbs here and there. But I think it's important.
Okay.
For a couple of reasons that I think we'll get into as we go. All right? You ready?
I am ready.
All right. So I'm going to go ahead and read through this story, and then we'll just see what Beth has to say about this. All right. This is from the National Review.
Okay.
All right. And it is dated February 1. So again, it's about a week old, but this story hasn't been resolved yet, so I still think it's important. And it is titled, Georgetown Law Students Stage Sit-In, Demand Dean Fire Ilya Shapiro. Story goes, the aggressive cancellation campaign against Ilya Shapiro continues. On Monday, Georgetown Law Dean William Trenner announced that Shapiro would be put on administrative leave from his new post at the law school's Center for the Constitution, pending an investigation into a series of tweets that Shapiro posted on January 26th. I'll clue you in on the tweets after this.
Okay.
Okay? But student activists were unsatisfied on the heels of a Georgetown Black Law Student Association petition. So Georgetown has a Black Law Student Association.
Okay.
All right. They made a petition calling for Shapiro's termination. A message went out last night announcing that a coalition of Georgetown law students will gather for a sit-in calling for the immediate termination of Ilya Shapiro and for the administration to address their demands. All right. When I showed up at the Georgetown University Law Center library this morning to report on the sit-in, so this is the author talking right now, I was denied access by school security. But I caught the second half of a live stream of the event via BLSA's Instagram page. Dean Trenner himself was front and center, accompanied by Mitch Belaine, the Law Center's Associate Vice President and Dean of Students, Sheila Foster, the Associate Dean for Equity and Inclusion, and Amy Ullman, the Director of the school's Mission and Ministry program. A chastened-looking Trenner spent more than an hour answering questions from what appeared to be BLSA leadership team in closed auditorium. The dean, striking an apologetic tone, echoed the language of the activists in the crowd, assuring the assembled students that he was appalled by the painful, quote, nature of Shapiro's tweets and promised to, quote, listen, learn, and ultimately do better. But he also seemed to be attempting to appease the students without committing to any definitive disciplinary action for Shapiro. Quote, since we're a private institution, the First Amendment doesn't apply to us, he said. It's not the First Amendment that's the university's guideline. But on the other hand, the university does have a free speech and expression policy that binds us. All right, following along so far?
So far.
Okay. The crowd was skeptical, directly criticizing Trenner's message as, quote, dishonest, and pushing for more aggressive action against Shapiro. One student floated the idea of defunding the Center for the Constitution if, worst case scenario, Shapiro were allowed to remain, suggesting that Shapiro's tweets can't be divorced from the center. Quote, if Shapiro is there, then his ideas and his rhetoric will be the center, she insisted. Another pressed Trenner on why the center existed at all, given the originalist views of its director, Randy Barnett. Why was it created, she asked, because so far it seems like it has done more harm than good. So we have a student actively wondering why they're studying the Constitution. At least that's my read on it. Now remember, these are law students.
Yeah, and since when does a employed teacher of any sort, their own, obviously some teachers are more outspoken than others, but just the fact that they're employed does not overshadow everything that they're teaching just because of their own personal opinions.
Yeah.
I mean, large high schools have like hundreds of employees. They can't all have their own opinion be front and center.
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense.
No, I agree. Well, let's see if this gets any better. All right.
I'm sure it does.
All right, so this student continues, you can do as much diversity training as you want with the staff, but I feel like that the center has a certain ideology. So really, I want you to defend why we really need it, beyond, free speech and beyond diversity of opinion. I really want us to think critically about why we still need it. Trenner said he thinks the center is important, but quickly added that he wanted to draw the line between conservatism and things that are racist. At another juncture, a student demanded that the dean cover for the classes that the activists had missed as a result of the sit-in, suggesting that the move would be part of a, quote, reparations package for black students. She followed up by insisting that students be given a designated place on campus to cry. Is there an office we can go to, she asked. I don't know what it would look like, but if they want to cry, if they need to break down, where can they go? Because we're at a point where students are coming out of class to go to the bathroom to cry. And this is not in the future, she added, this is today. The administration took the law students' query seriously. It is really, really hard to walk out of class or a meeting in tears, and you should always have a place on campus where you can go, Dean Balin told her. And if you're finding that you're not getting the person you want to talk to or you're not getting the space that you need, reach out to me anytime, and I will find you space.
Why are these people paying tens of thousands of dollars to get educated if they need a place to cry?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see if it gets any better. Yet another student pressed the dean to send out an email attacking the BLSA's critics. Something that's important is to remind our classmates that are attacking us that we are only here because our ancestors were sold for them to be here, she said. And I think it's a very important fact that is not talked about explicitly enough, that because we are still being attacked. So I would just appreciate in whatever message that's going out to the student body that our classmates are explicitly reminded, do not attack the people who were sold for you to have this opportunity. That needs to be something that these people are reminded of because they continue to attack us, and it is not on our backs that they are even here. Okay?
Okay.
Trenner maintained a deferential tone. Again, I was appalled by the tweet, he said. I tried to move as quickly as I can. Within hours of the tweet going out, I made a statement. Later, he reiterated that he was so appalled by the tweets and this is painful for all of us, but I know how painful and awful it is for you, and I know what a terrible burden it is, and added, I am grateful for you taking the time to talk. I'm grateful for your insights. I heard a lot today that I won't just be reflecting on, but that I'll be moving forward with, and I will be in dialogue with you about what we're doing. What I hear today is that you have lost trust as an institution, Dean Foster chimed in, and we get that, and we take that, and we take that accountability, and we have to take that accountability. There were murmurs of agreement in the audience as Dean Foster said, we've lost your trust and we're hoping to get it back, Trenner added. The great thing about listening to these comments, which are really helpful, is that I learn about things that I could do better. Students remain unconvinced. A lot of eyes are on you right now, one said. That's very powerful, Trenner responded.
So, obviously, I still don't know the gist of the tweet, but one of my biggest problems with all of this so far is the fact that this is a place of education that people are paying to go to for their own advancements in their career or just advancement of knowledge. But a great disservice to, in my opinion, to our education system, because this type of thing is happening all over, not just in higher education, but it's the fact that it's become not even a democracy, but there's so much placation and there's so much discussion and dialogue as opposed to actual learning. There needs to be a hierarchy. There needs to be somebody in charge, and there needs to be rules, and the rules need to be followed, because otherwise you just, like I said, it's complete chaos. But nothing is being implemented as far as what I can easily see as rules or hierarchy anymore in any of our institutions. So kids are going to school and they're spending most of their day talking about safe spaces or whatever the case may be, and they're not learning how to add. Yeah. That's not the point of being there.
Yeah. No.
It's a complete disservice to the United States, and it's going to have, I feel like, large ripple effects.
Well, good times build weak people, and then weak people build bad times, which we're kind of in that transition right now, I think.
I just don't see how this helps our society or helps people in general.
Oh, it doesn't.
This isn't helping build good people who actually understand things. This is building whiny people who complain about everything and think that no matter who it is and what it is, that their opinion is better than that.
Yeah. So do you want to hear what Ilya had to say?
Yeah.
Okay. So I have to go to the Washington Post for this. The tweets have been deleted. Okay. But this is a Washington Post article that gives us the gist, okay? So he was tweeting about the fact that Biden wants to nominate a black woman to replace Stephen Breyer on the Supreme Court.
Okay.
And he's made it clear, I'm going to have a black woman.
Okay.
That's his shtick at this point. And as a result, you know, he's eliminated 99% of the candidates out there because he's gone down this very, very narrow path, right?
Yeah.
And Shapiro had a problem with that. So here's what he said. And some of this is summarized, some of it's direct quote, but I can't get at the actual tweets anymore. So Shapiro suggested that Sri Srinivasan, Chief Judge of the U.S. Supreme Court, the U.S. Court of Appeals, rather, and for the District of Columbia Circuit, and the first person of South Asian descent to lead a federal circuit court, would be Biden's best pick.
Okay.
So, and understand that Ilya is best labeled as libertarian. So it's not like he's this left-leaning dude. But he went out and looked at the available options, and he's like, hey, if you're looking for a left-leaning dude, this one's the most qualified.
And if we're talking about race relations, it's not like he said, hey, you shouldn't hire a woman of color. Instead, I think you should hire a white man.
Yep.
That was also not what he was saying.
Well, here's a direct quote from the tweet, okay? Quote, but alas, doesn't fit into the latest intersectionality hierarchy, so we'll get a lesser black woman. Thank heaven for small favors. Shapiro also said that if Biden's pick is a black woman, she'll always have an asterisk attached. He asked his followers in a poll if the president's commitment to nominating a black female judge was racist, sexist, both, or neither. Okay, so the point he was making, and again, if we look at something with critical eyes,
Yeah.
what he's trying to say there is not that a black woman would be lesser. What he was trying to say was, we're going to get a lesser candidate who happens to be a black woman because he's gone down this narrow path if that's what it needs to be.
Because in any job situation, you should be choosing the most qualified candidate for the job.
Yeah. So, anybody with half a brain can put that together and understand what he means.
Yes.
Was it artfully said?
No.
No. Okay.
No, definitely not.
But, come on.
Yeah.
Right? So he deleted the tweet, and then he wrote, I apologize, I meant no offense, but it was an inartful tweet. I've taken it down. He posted a longer statement on Friday saying he regretted his poor choice of words, but called it a shame that men and women of every race will be excluded from the president's nomination process. A person's dignity and worth simply do not and should not depend on race, gender, or any other immutable characteristic, Shapiro wrote. While it's important that a wide variety of perspectives and backgrounds be represented in the judiciary, so blatantly using identity politics and choosing Supreme Court justices is discrediting to this vital institution.
Yeah.
And then they placed him on leave. All right. So, again, I wouldn't necessarily call his statement, as he put it, artful. It wasn't well crafted.
No.
But it wasn't malicious either.
No.
What he was trying to say was clear, that you're going to have a lesser nominee because we've gone down such a narrow path. Okay. So
perhaps he should have said less qualified or whatever, but
yeah.
Either way.
Yeah. Again, to his point, not exactly artful in his wording.
Yeah.
But this, again, if you look at something with a critical eye, it's not that hard to figure out what the guy really meant. And he clarified it later on.
And
so
I'm going to piss a lot of people off here, but
feel free.
Even,
that's what we do here.
Even if that was what he meant, even if it was, and it's very clear that it wasn't, but even if it was, why does somebody need a place at their higher education to cry about it? You can be mad about it all you want. Even if you want to cry at home a tear or two, but it seems to be, in my mind, blatantly blown out of proportion if we're just going to sit around and cry about everything that everybody says all around us that's being posted on the internet. There's always going to be something on the internet that's going to piss you off and rub you the wrong way. That's kind of what the internet does now.
Yeah. So I'd like to even take this a step further. What are these guys and gals studying for? Well, in the other 500 genders. I guess I shouldn't be so specific.
Yeah.
What are these people studying for? They're studying to be lawyers. They're studying to go into a court and stand in front of a judge. They're studying to go to battle. That is what lawyers do.
Not to go cry.
They go to war. Exactly. So how is it that Georgetown Law, a fairly prestigious place, is all of a sudden telling these kids that, yeah, you need a space to cry. Yeah, we understand how your feelings are hurt. Why isn't it that this worthless dean isn't getting in there and telling these kids to shut the F up, grow a set,
I was just going to say, yeah,
and deal with it? Because the world isn't going to tell you everything that you want to hear all the time. I'm just curious, are we going to install cry spaces in courts now? So when the judge pisses you off, you can retreat for 5 minutes to clear your brain? Something tells me no.
No.
So what generation of lawyers are we raising up here?
Ones that are not going to do well in court, for sure.
No, but that's scary, because at some point in your life, you're going to need a lawyer for something. We all do. Stuff happens, stuff comes up, whether it's criminal or civil, or hell, just a lawyer to represent you while you're doing a complex contract like a home buy or something.
Yep.
There's always a need. But if you're training them up to be wussies who can't handle the slightest little thing, that's frightening to me.
I feel like everyone, if they were being honest with themselves and picked apart their lives, they could find instances of, I don't even know if you want to call it bullying, but just instances where things were less than ideal and definitely didn't go your way from, somebody said something that was shitty to you, or somebody said something that was offensive in one way or another. Not even having to dig deep for these things. That's unfortunately, people can be less than nice. Again, talking about the internet, we already know that the internet is kind of a battlefield in and of itself. But this is everyone. And if we were all walking around as a society crying all the time, not only would we get nothing done, but our adversaries would just have a field day with us as a nation.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a presence you can sustain.
No.
In any way, shape, or form.
Yeah. And frankly, maybe our adversaries should have a field day with us because we've just become weak. And you know what? You get what you deserve. And that's kind of the point that we're at. But it's interesting to me that this whole subject, again, hasn't gotten a whole hell of a lot of play in the mainstream. And I feel like it should. Not because of what Ilya Shapiro said, but because of the reaction to it.
Because there's a lesson to learn that shouldn't be repeated ever again.
Yeah. Now, these are supposed to be our best and brightest minds, right? These are the ones who conceivably become the congressmen of the future. Or, God forbid, out of this group, a future president.
Or on the Supreme Court. Or
Yeah, any of that. Because I can't think of a place. Well, I can. Okay, the actual battlefield, a war field. Okay, but a place where you're not going to take up arms against somebody. It's hard to think of a place where your ability to joust with somebody successfully and keep your focus on the prize at hand is more important than in a court of law.
Yeah.
Because literally this is where lives are changed.
Yeah.
In so many cases.
I definitely agree with that.
Yeah. All of a sudden, I want to ask if I ever need a lawyer if they've gone to Georgetown Law and if they have, cross them off the list. Because if this is what they're raising up, the legal system's tough enough to navigate as it is.
Yeah.
This is not good.
No. This is very frightening.
Yeah. So I'm curious to see what they do with Shapiro. Like I said, no, at least at the time we're recording this, nothing's been decided yet. I have a feeling maybe the dean's just trying to ride this thing out until it cools off and then, give him the keys to his office. But who knows?
I have a problem with cancel culture completely, as it is anyway. But this is steps beyond cancel culture because not only are they saying that they're offended and they want this guy gone, but just because this guy had an existence to begin with, they want all sorts of cash and prizes for having to have crossed his path.
Yeah.
That's just life.
Yeah.
There's shitty people that are going to cross your path that you don't like and you're not going to get along with. Deal with it. Rise above it.
Exactly. But instead it's, well, we had to miss class for this, so you should credit us for those classes. Buzz off.
Go do your homework.
Yeah. Or you need to remind those who are hating on us that we're only here because our ancestors were brought here. Maybe. But, maybe they came over for other reasons. Either way.
You're alive. Just be happy. Can't you be happy you're alive right now?
Exactly. In the best country in the world. You'll notice these people aren't in a big hurry to hop on a boat or a plane and go back to where their ancestors came from.
No.
They're just not. This is where they want to be or they would leave. Now, I'm not saying that to be mean. I'm saying it to be honest. This is not a bad place.
No.
Even those who try to fight against it realize that. If nothing else, this is such a great place because you can actually speak out even if your ideas are stupid.
Yeah.
You have that right, although that's what they're trying to close off because they don't feel that the ideas that are being spoken by their adversaries are legit. Only theirs. But that is not how the country's set up to work.
No, and once there's any type of situation where the only truth is what a hierarchy or a particular group of people feed you, you're in dire trouble.
Yeah, I agree. All right, I think we should go ahead and leave it there. Do let us know what you think in the comments about this whole situation. Do you think Georgetown Law should get rid of Ilya Shapiro, even though he hasn't really started yet? Do you think the students are being a little bit crazy or a lot of it crazy for staging this protest and demanding their reparations and demanding that he be fired and everything else? Do you agree that the tweet was perhaps inartful, but not malicious, not in its intent anyways? Be curious to know your thoughts, so leave those for us. If you have not already done so with this channel, please do subscribe, hit the notification bell so you get alerted to new videos, and don't forget to hit the like button or smash it or punch it or whatever it is that you do. If you're on Rumble, hit the punchy thing, because that's what they do there. If you are on the podcast side, please do leave us a review. We'll leave it there, like I said, until the next time we see you. Thanks for watching.